Hi, welcome back to Jake Likes Everything. I'm Jake, and on this channel, I like to talk about everything I like about a particular topic. And contrary to typical online discourse, I redact the negative and only talk about the positives of something. And today, I'm going to talk about everything I liked and loved about Resident Evil Requiem. Where to even begin with this thing? I should say I'm a big fan of the series, big fan of Capcom, especially in this run of hits they've been doing for the last decade or so. Big fan of Capcom America himself, Mr. Leon S. Kennedy, and I've been excited for this thing since the trailer dropped at the 2025 Summer Games Fest showcase. It was absolutely worth the wait. From the second you boot it up, this thing kicks off with a bang. This game is really good so far. So to start, I loved Grace as a character. Loved her backstory and history and how she's portrayed by Angela Santalbano.
Who's there?
Please invent an Oscar for video game performances and give it to her. She's a very skittish, nervous person who's clearly jumping at her own shadow and is a total fish out of water compared to most other characters in the series. Even Ethan Winters, Mr. Everyman himself, who came around to being competent by the end. I love the fresh air she breathes into this series and this game just by adding some fresh blood into the long list of characters in their cast, but also by being the perfect foil to Leon, both in terms of the storytelling and the gameplay. I love the occasional moments where you can hear her breathing in that panicked, shaky way. It both immersed me further in the moment and heightened my fear in the situation and pulled me out of it and made me think, this poor woman is so terrified right now. I gotta get her through this. From the hotel to the care center to the rest of the game's locations, I was wholly invested in her story and her journey. I loved it. Leon similarly has his own journey and his own motives that obviously overlaps with Grace. I love the story here with his ailment and this B plot and how his story ultimately culminates in the end. I loved Leon's quips. I'm a dad and a child of the 90s. They got me every time.
You know, I do have a question. When's the last time you brushed your teeth?
I loved the pacing of the storytelling and how they chose to unfold the plot. It's a Resident Evil game, so the plot is bonkers, but they do a good job of weaving in these consistent themes. I loved the push, pull, attack, and release of the gameplay styles, and personally, I didn't think either of them overstayed their welcome. The stealth and survival gameplay with Grace is awesome, spooky. Get. No. No. The gunplay and action with Leon is tight, fast, mechanically satisfying, and doesn't feel repetitive at any point and shakes up right when it might have. At least to me, I loved the blood collector for Grace and the hatchet for Leon. I thought these were awesome gameplay elements to add to bring just enough newness to the gameplay to keep it interesting and get you thinking and strategizing. They don't feel like gimmicky new features or items. They seamlessly join your arsenal to where it just wouldn't feel like the same game without them, but you could also go through the entire game without using them once if you wanted. I love how Leon reloads his guns in this cool guy, totally obnoxious way, and that he holds the flashlight between his head and shoulder when he does it, all nonchalant like your mom's on the phone. I love that this game tries new gameplay ideas and discards them after a single use. I won't spoil anything, but things like with the glass, you know what I'm talking about if you've played it already. I love how they structured upgrades in this game. For both Grace in the first half and Leon in the second, this game is a rare case where I was legitimately planning my second playthrough while I was doing my first, and as a gamer in my mid 30s, with less and less time on my hands, it takes a lot for me to get there. I loved the level design. As always, Capcom are the masters of crafting an atmospheric, living setting that's as much of a conversation piece in this series as the characters, story, lore, gameplay. I love that from the moment the game gives you control and you're weaving through the alley and you get to the hotel door, it has this ominous point of no return feeling. Just so I know, where's the sprint button? Can you sprint, Grace? Resident Evil always has this Odysseic Alice in Wonderland down the rabbit hole feeling to it where it truly feels like an experience that you come out the other side of. And I think they nailed it again. It feels like a ride you can't get off of once you start it. I loved the hotel as a setting and how it weaves in that flashback. It's creepy. It's all burned out and you got this stalker hanging out in there. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Is that me? I loved the trauma center with its old school Resident Evil mansion feel with the puzzles and locked doors. I loved where all that takes you and the design of the ruins of Raccoon City, how it's sort of open, akin to parts of Resident Evil 4's level design in some ways, and like Resident Evil Village a little bit. I loved where you go from there and the tight design of all the other levels and locations this game sends you to. Capcom consistently hit the nail on the head with designing these levels for infinite replayability. It almost feels like a board game. I love the enemies in this game. I think it's fun and totally Resident Evil to have zombies stuck doing a thing that their last brain cell is clinging to for dear life, and you can try to manipulate or get around them in different ways. I liked the bosses or larger enemies. I didn't think they were scary at all.
What the hell? What the hell?
What about her? Is she infected? Nope. Oh. Oh. Descend. Run. Run, 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 run. Nah. No, 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 no. Oh my god. Oh my god. Absolutely not. Every bone in my body, I hate it.
What the hell was that thing?
Does it matter? I like the classic type enemies. I like the new ones. There was enough variety to keep you guessing on a first playthrough and strategizing on subsequent ones. I like Victor Gideon, the devil's optometrist, as a villain. I love that they had a brochure trying to pass him off as a totally normal doctor and not the most evil looking dude clearly hatching plots in a basement and cooking schemes in a lab. If you went to that care center after seeing that brochure, you deserved to be turned into a skin hammock or whatever he was doing. I thought he was comically evil, totally Resident Evil, and just creepy enough when he needed to be. I like that he's got a master plan, and part of it is just walking down the street with a kidnapped unconscious woman over his shoulder and a face sewn together down the middle like a scrotum, wearing Buffalo Bill headgear with worse hair. And if anything goes wrong, he's like, it's zombie party gun time, and just starts shooting everybody that he can see. He looks like we have Hellraiser at home, midlife crisis edition. I won't spoil the ending, but I'll just say I loved it. I know some people didn't agree with some of the choices made, but overall, I think it's a refreshing finish to an already refreshing game in a series that didn't need refreshments. But it squeezed a delicious lemonade anyway, just to prove they have the best fruit trees growing in their backyard, because they know nobody can compete. I love how nostalgic this game is. Some people weren't a fan of that, but if you don't want that in a Resident Evil game, I know it's hard to wait for the next one. And it's not like you can play Resident Evil 7 or Village that did something completely new, or play Resident Evil 2 or 3 or 4 remakes that shook things up a bit. But at least we're getting the Veronica remake Imagining next year, and maybe that'll tickle your fancy. I love how good this game looks, and equally good Leon's hair looks, and no matter what he goes through or how bad your health gets, he'll be bleeding from the neck with perfect hair. Victor's probably so jealous. I liked how they pushed the lore forward in this game. I think it's well set up and primed for whenever they make the next entry, and I'm excited to see where it takes us. So yeah, if you couldn't tell already, I loved Resident Evil Requiem. What did you like about Resident Evil 9? If you're like me and you're tired of the whining, the complaining, the negativity, or just the general focus about what's bad about a thing in nerd culture, consider subscribing and joining in the discussion. Again, it's not that there isn't anything wrong with or bad about the things that we talk about. This is just a space where people like myself can focus on the good, leave the rest, and actually enjoy things. That's all for now. Be back with bells on. Love to all. Stay beautiful.